Hello and welcome back to Diary of a Name Dropper, the podcast. I'm Meredith Hepner Chapman and I hope you've had a very lovely summer. I'm joined today by a serious girl crush, someone who I would have given my left arm to hang out with in the 90s, and so glad we finally had a chance to chat. The most incredible rock photographer, Scarlet Page. Pretty much fresh out of university, Scarlet was plunged into the 90s Generation X world of the most amazing music and soon became known as the photographer of the generation. Citing musicians we had on our walls as personal friends, I can't wait to get chatting. Sit back, enjoy. Let's go back, way back. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I've been literally desperate for you to come on since forever.
Well, we finally managed to make it a date.
We did. Thank you so much. I'm just going to sit back and listen to everything in order because I've got so many questions.
Okay.
I don't even know where to start because I'm obviously a Gen Xer, a 90s person, and I'd say you're the photographer for Gen X. Every band that you photographed, I just want to ask a million questions.
I've never heard that before, actually, but I'll take it.
Literally all the bands that defined my 90s are ones that you've taken really famous photos of as well, not just any old photo, you know. I mean, these are like iconic photos. We'll talk about your favourites.
Okay.
But it's absolutely brilliant to have you on here. I have to thank Abby at Festival of the Girl as well for sort of introducing us properly, which was just amazing to be part of Festival of the Girl as well.
Absolutely.
So proud. And they're going to have such a good year this year because of the England the women's football and
yeah. No, I was lucky to take pictures of the Lionesses a few years ago as well. And
really,
yeah, at a time when they were things were starting to get quite exciting for them. I guess it was probably 4 years ago, and then now it's like, wow, this is just incredible. It was for Disney at the time and redefining what it is to be a Disney princess, and you know, they were using the Lionesses as these brilliant role models, and three of the ones that were in my shoot were in the current team, so it was really great to see that. Yeah.
So were they dressed? Was it sort of ironic? Were they dressed as Disney princesses or?
No, they were just dressed as themselves.
No, but I was thinking of the irony.
Yeah. No, they were holding up sort of slogans that sort of like one word things or two, like sort of, you know, be confident or, you know. But,
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I just cried. Did you cry? I sobbed.
I didn't cry, but I was amazed at just how like cheeky and brave they were with some of the goals. You know, it was like, that is just like, you know, you don't see that happen, especially in finals. And it was just like, oh my God, this is so exciting and you know, a great game. Well, great games to watch, but and you don't always get that, do you? So.
No. Yeah. And without all the drama, my son sat in awe and he was just like, these women are so kick-ass. It was just, he instantly loved it. And I think they did that. The Lionesses made everyone fall in love with them immediately. And I thought, I knew they were going to win from the beginning.
Yeah, no, 100%. Same here. You know, my son's 11 and he's massively into football. But
Who does he support?
He supports Spurs.
Oh, dear. I'm an Arsenal fan.
Oh, God. Should we end this now?
Yeah, bye.
Yeah, but he was the same. He was just like, oh, my God, that, you know, these goals and just, yeah, it was just an exciting watch, wasn't it?
Oh, it was just, I love that we're talking about it still, and you can still,
yeah,
just the energy of them and the way they just jumped on the table when Serena was talking and they didn't give a shit, and it was just pure emotion. And
I know, bless them.
I want to go partying with them.
What's lovely about what I do is that I am introduced to people that I may not have known before, and that is just so brilliant. Like I wasn't that clued up on the Lionesses 4 years ago, and then now, they are more of my in my world, and I know who they are and what they're like, and this is, and that happens all the way through with anyone, whoever I'm shooting, new band, old band. I'm going to be shooting the Scope Awards soon, so already I'm starting to learn about all these incredibly inspirational people, and people that weren't on my radar before, and I'm like, whoa, they just touch you to the core. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's very different from music, but how exciting to basically, in theory, you've photographed the 66 lot. But they didn't even win. Oh no, they did win in 66, obviously, but it's been a long. But you've basically photographed our winning team, which is just a brilliant legacy. I mean, it's, oh God, I'm so in awe. I think you have the best job in the world. And I should just tell you, I am such a Beastie Boys fan. And I just want you to tell me that they were amazing. Please.
I was so lucky just to...
How did that happen? Please tell me about your experience with the Beastie Boys, and then we'll talk about all the others. But the Beastie Boys, for me, I mean, that's mega.
Yeah, and it was just at that time when, like they just were having this massive comeback, and playing Glastonbury, and I went to Glastonbury with them. Well, let me backtrack. So I had been assisting Ross Halfin, who's an incredible rock photographer, for a year and a half, and that was just straight out of uni. I sort of tumbled into it, really, and luckily, I had the good groundwork training to be able to sort of get into assisting, but this was quite exciting. I didn't necessarily want to go into music photography, but it just so happened that was my path. And at that time, sort of 93, 94,
the best years.
Yeah, it was exciting. Well, there was a lot of money in the music industry, so there was lots of traveling the world, and I very quickly started traveling the world assisting Ross, and he had 2 assistants. So I was a second assistant, but sometimes only room for one. And, soon, after I proved myself that I could do and carry 2 bodies worth of equipment around, I started doing a lot of the trips on my own with him. And
so young.
Yeah, well, what was I doing?
And a woman in the 90s, which whilst we were all ladettes, there was still very much a culture of sexism.
It's odd because that has really shone out more recently. A lot of people say, God, you were in the minority, and what was that like? And I didn't really think about it too much then, and didn't think that I couldn't do the things. Actually, I was as shy as I was. I just did my best and just stayed professional, and just, and just love what I did. So that was it. And, sometimes I might miss opportunities because I was a bit shy, but it's all a learning curve, isn't it? You've got to start somewhere. But
absolutely. So
while I was assisting, I earned lots of air miles, obviously, because we were traveling a lot. And I also got to know various tour managers for bands, and one of the tour there was 2. So there was one tour manager who's a very close friend of Ross's called Wilf Wright, and he was so lovely and said that he could get me a pass for Lollapalooza tour in America if I wanted to head out there. And I also knew the tour manager for the Smashing Pumpkins.
Honestly, my flatmate was obsessed with the Smashing Pumpkins. I mean, and Jane's Addiction. Those are the 2 bands that really defined my house share in Shepherd's Bush.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Smashing Pumpkins as well, hugely, and obviously the Beastie Boys, and so I took a very brave step and flew out on my own to the States, knowing that I could get these passes and I'd just get whatever I could get. So it was really scary.
I literally, I was open mouthed. Like, you just went. It's brilliant. It's ballsy as hell. I love it.
Well, I guess I really definitely wasn't ballsy, but it just seemed silly not to. And so I had nothing to lose. And I quite like that when I'm shooting for myself and the pressure's off, even then. I mean, it was super early days, so, so it was just building my portfolio. And some of the shots I got weren't brilliant of like the Beasties or the Pumpkins, but
the time, the era.
But I did get a great shot on that tour of the Verve, and that made it to their album. And that was all part of being on that tour for a little while. I think I went to New York and Vegas, so sort of New York area, and it was, Courtney Love was hanging out. She Kurt had passed away because it was 94, and she was popping up at some of the shows, and it was just all a bit mad.
Yeah,
really.
What year did Kurt die? So he
was it
92? I'm trying to remember. I was in the pub when it happened. I can remember it so well. I was holding a snake bite in black, and someone said, "You're never going to believe."
Yeah, well, if it was 92, then they would have made a big fuss this year, wouldn't they? But maybe, I'm not sure. It's 92 or 93, I think.
It's quite good that we don't remember it vividly, because we don't really remember anything vividly from the 90s. They're just hazy memories.
Well, it's a long time ago now, isn't it? It's a really long time ago.
Oh, I know. Someone said, isn't the 90s 30 years ago? And I was like, don't be so ridiculous. And I was like, oh, yeah, it is.
It's mad, because our heads are just the same. Maybe not everything else.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And I do think that we are very when I remember being in the 90s and thinking, oh, this is such a crap decade, we're so undefined, You had my mum going, if you weren't alive in the 60s, that's the real decade. And so we lived in the 90s, and at the time I felt fashion was just taken from the 70s or taken a bit, and it didn't really feel like it was its own decade. And now when you look back, you realise the 90s was actually the greatest decade, because it just took from everything great, threw it together and gave us a 10-year party.
I mean, in hindsight, yeah, that's it. You look at it, because now that we're entering this sort of like massive deep depression, it's like, oh my gosh, take me back to more simple times, and when
it was simple. And I like the pressure of not having phones and social media, and the fact that we remembered phone numbers, we made plans, no one ever got left behind. How we survived a lot of, the parties and things, but we just did.
I flew out to, these places and found...
I know! No mobile phones. That's what the kids today don't realise. There wasn't just that safety belt of, oh, I'm running late, I'll let someone know. No, if you were late, you were left behind.
I probably read some books and stuff.
Yeah. So I know that you've got soft spots for the Foo Fighters and Placebo. Yeah. I'm making an assumption, but I'm figuring that's the case. Who else do you really love photographing?
Oh, a weird thing to say, but I love photograph. I do actually really love my job. So really, whoever it is, I sort of thrive on that sort of connection and sort of, the thing is like, I've been lucky enough, I did shoot David Bowie at his request, and
at his request,
yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. But that, no one thing is more, I mean, I just feel so lucky that for some of the shoots that I have done, but at the same time, they're all just, as there isn't a massive difference in terms of all that time. It's odd actually, because I can look back at pictures. So I've got some portraits of Noel and Liam Gallagher.
Oh,
which at the time I wasn't particularly, I liked them. Yeah, I did like them. But now I look back and I go, whoa, I love them.
Yeah.
Sometimes that time that passes.
Well, you won't get them in a photo together now anyway.
No, and they look very different. And it was definitely, there's eras within bands that you think that is really cool.
To go that moment in time, exactly that. I mean, I used to, if I'd ever seen a photo of myself in the 90s, I'd have hated it. But you look back now and you just go, God, that was brilliant. I was living with a couple of bands in the 90s that was sort of trying to make it. That one got signed to V2 Records along with the Stereophonics, and that was Jocasta. Do you remember Jocasta? You see,
yeah, it does.
Tim Arnold is the lead singer, and he's gone on to do lots of different stuff now. But I mean, that was wild. And they supported a band called Honeycrack, which was,
they ring a bell as well.
Another friend of mine. But they were on that sort of Brit pop peripheral.
Yeah.
Enough to sort of be invited to the good parties after the Water Rats and things like that. But nothing that sort of blew up. But it was still just brilliant. Yeah. And my friend's brother wrote the bass line to Omar's "There's Nothing Like This," so we were sort of more in that scene, that sort of rare groove, acid jazz. Like I loved Jamiroquai and all the old brand new heavies, and that's my. Jack always says to me, "Ugh, you introduced me to acid jazz, Meredith." I'm like, yes, it's the greatest music ever.
Wasn't there some kind of in Camden, like some?
Yeah, there was Underworld at Camden, but it was Bubblicious on a Monday night, I think, or something like that.
And what about Smashing? Did you ever go there?
Did I go to Smashing? No, I used to go to the End and Fabric, and then the Water Rats, Icenies, but they didn't have live acts. Borderline, Powerhouse. What was that? It was the Water Rats in King's Cross, wasn't it? Which really, I mean, I can remember seeing Liam Gallagher there in a long leather coat.
I'm not a massive clubber or particularly partier, but I did go to Smashing a couple of times, and it was when Britpop was at its peak, so you'd get Menswear there and Courtney Love and Alex James or Graham Coxon, and
so cool.
It was quite fun.
My flatmate was a massive Hole fan, massive. She used to go out in a nightie and a fur coat to look like Courtney Love, and I mean, I love that Miss World. Such a good song.
Like Barrymore and Amanda de Cadenet.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Amanda de Cadenet is now podcasting, and really, like, she's a real voice for the women, isn't she? She's The Word as well. That was such a TV show that if you weren't going out, it's like, I'll watch The Word then. It's the same sort of thing. The Foo Fighters, a band that you've shot a lot and beautifully, and I mean, being a photographer, you must get to know these people so intimately, because it's so intimate having your photo taken. And I know you were absolutely grief-stricken by Taylor Hawkins. That's the downside of it, the world of rock and roll, and the people you meet who often don't live long enough. It's just
there's a great book I've been reading recently by a journalist that I did a lot of trips with, called Ian Winwood, and it's called Bodies, and it's really talking about that whole thing, that phenomenon within the music industry with regards to them not living as long as they should, and mental health, and how it's sort of geared up to sort of feed those things that are not necessarily a positive, but it's the food, that's it. You do. Even like Chris Cornell.
Well, I was going to say, Jeremy will kill me. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Patience is his favourite song, Chris Cornell's version. And I mean, if you listen to those lyrics, especially now, I mean, there were the signs, weren't there?
I guess, but it's still a huge shock, isn't it? You just think, whoa. A lot of people I know who knew him really well just didn't expect that to happen.
Was that really a big shock? Because obviously when you're just fans, you never know what's going on.
Yeah, I think so. But you know, that's it. When you hear of anything, you always think, what was it like? When you hear they've passed, and then it's like, geez, that's so brutal, isn't it? It's just so hard to get your head around that sort of.
Yeah. And then there's the 27 phenomenon, that the age of as well. There's the documentary on Netflix, which is.
Well, actually, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I think it is just called 27, or.
Okay.
Yeah. It's But so, what are you up to at the moment? Are you going to? I mean, your photos. I think a big fat Scarlet Page coffee table book is what's in order. One of those big, gorgeous ones that you can sit and. Please, I'm asking you from a 90s girl. Those beautiful books that you just. I've got goosebumps thinking about them. My mum was friends with Brian Harris. Is friends with Brian Harris, who was more a sort of celeb as opposed to music industry. Jackie Collins and the Queen. But yeah, looking through old photographs, and I'm going to be really ignorant here. What are they called? Those, is it contact sheets?
Yes, contact sheets.
I love that's my absolute favourite thing in the world. Just looking at all of it, the process of how you got that shot. Please, will you do something?
Well, it will. Yeah, I reckon it will happen. It's funny because in lockdown, a lot of photographers obviously had no shoots on, and a lot of people looked at their archive and started sort of, certainly, people like me who'd been shooting a long time and have a lot of negatives and transparencies, as well as, newer digital images. And what I did in lockdown, rather than sort of digitizing everything, I did digitize some bits and sort of put some energy into my print sales side of the business. That kept me afloat during lockdown. That was great. But in the meantime, so I had a little sort of, dip into the archives, but more recently, I've got someone who's working with me 3 days a week, and we are going through my archives up properly now.
Oh, good.
And just putting everything in order, matching up all the contact sheets, just literally putting everything in order. We've got some boxes that are called the bands that time forgot, which it's quite ruthless. We're having to pull out some of those bands that you're probably not going to need to look at that regularly. They're going in the storage, which is my new storage I've got.
Yeah, you've moved, haven't you?
My studio's moved, and with that, I've had to sort out a lot of. I had some exhibitions of, exhibition prints, like 36 framed images I had to find a house for and a home for, and I managed to relocate them to a music school in Brighton called Waterbear, and so that's brilliant. They're in the sort of inspirational
lucky
room.
Students. Bloody hell.
Well, and lucky me, they're somewhere where people can see them and get them, get something out of it, which is brilliant. I'm really pleased. And then just lots of old test prints, and so I've been it's funny, I've been spending a lot of energy doing the stuff I hate, which is tidying. And
don't even. Oh.
But it will end up with so all the negatives are pretty much in order now, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 big drawers of transparencies that I haven't looked at.
Oh my God, but how fun to look through.
Well, luckily my assistant Brian will help me.
So when does it swap from that style of photography to, did you used to have a dark room and develop them yourself? I mean, because now it is all digital, but if contact sheets were not from digital, were they? Or can you still get contact sheets? Or
yeah, you can.
I'm being really thick, so you need to tell me, stop me.
Back in the old days, obviously, yes, I did used to convert my bathroom into a dark room and print black and white only.
In your bathroom?
In my bathroom.
That's so cool.
And a few jobs for in the NME where I had to print them myself, and there was no point spending money getting them printed somewhere else because I think the fees were quite low, and so it made sense to do that. But that's quite time consuming, and eventually what I would do usually is do a shoot, take the film to the lab. The lab would take about 24 hours to develop them. You'd pick up the contact sheets, give them to the client or the magazine. And so really, once you'd done the shoot, that was kind of it. You just had a bit of ferrying around to do, but that was pretty much it. You'd order the prints and deliver them.
There was no editing or anything because the photos were done. Really? That was it.
Yeah, photos were done. But I've just around sort of, I think I made the switch around 2005 maybe. I was quite reluctant to give up shooting on my medium format, and because that was film on there, and also my 35mm, and I just didn't want to change the whole system because it wasn't broken, it was working quite well. But then you had, that's the thing I've learned is that you have to keep changing and evolving, and it's like recently I've just made the shift to mirrorless, and that's again
mirrorless.
So you have an SLR, which is a single lens reflex, and then you have a DSLR, digital single lens reflex, and then mirrorless has it's a completely different, there's no single lens reflex situation. It's like quieter, faster, and that's the way it's going. So it's like my next step on from transitioning from film to digital. Now it's digital, now I'm moving to the mirrorless system, and it's great, actually. I was a bit like, oh, no, the cameras don't feel like real cameras. But
so they're
now,
completely different cameras? It's a whole new camera, everything. It's a new way of shooting.
They used to feel like toys, but Nikon have just released one called a Z9, and it feels exactly the same as any camera that I've ever used, like a professional camera that I've ever used. And so now it feels right. And before I was like, no, it's just too light and it's just not right, and I can't. You almost need it to feel right before you can actually do your job.
Got to have a weight in it, haven't you?
It's got to, and that's what I'm used to. And actually, I feel like, what the hell was I doing? Because this camera is so good, and the hit rate of focus is so amazing, and obviously as I'm getting older and my manual focus isn't so brilliant anymore, but it's just so fast. And so this is it, you have to just keep moving, and there's so many brilliant things that keep coming up, and I'm constantly watching, not constantly, but recently I've sort of gone back in to look at sort of YouTube videos and learning about softwares, and you just have to keep adding to your arsenal. And not arsenal. Why did I use that horrible word?
That beautiful word. Arsenal. You can use that word, but you do. Didn't Einstein say if you don't, it's like a wheelchair. If you don't, not a wheelchair, but a bicycle. If you don't keep going, you will just fall off. I mean, you have to evolve and adapt. And I actually think in the pandemic, the creatives led the way. I mean, like you said, you thought, well, I'm not shooting, I'm not out. What am I going to do? I'll look in my archives. And that was just a gift to people. I mean, to be able to own prints like that, especially our demographic who will have seen those bands in concert and had posters up. And have you seen The Dirt, by the way? I should ask. Have you ever shot Motley Crue?
Well, when I was assisting Ross, he was shooting Motley Crue, and it was around the time when Tommy Lee was having some hot wax dripped on his nipples.
Oh, God. Standard Sunday.
Well, like he'd arrive the next morning going, oh, So, that was quite entertaining. They didn't have Vince Neil in the band at that particular point.
Oh, no. Was that after the car crash? And
I don't know, but it would have been that sort of 93 era, I suppose. 93, 94. But I did also shoot Tommy Lee at his house.
No, you did not.
Yeah.
So Tommy Lee is my guilty, very secret obsession.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore. And I did sort of, any man who can drum in a rotating cage from about 200 feet. Yeah. And I just love that my kids are half Greek, and I love that he comes from a really cute Greek family. He was really nice, and he still had the Pammy swing. No.
Maybe it was just the swing, because it wasn't Pammy anymore.
No, it was Pammy gone.
Pammy was gone, but the swing was still in existence.
He really is a talented drummer. I mean, everyone just thinks about well, now they're talking about his Willie again because he posted on
Yeah.
Instagram. But people do just talk about
Oh, yeah, I missed it. It got deleted.
Oh, I screenshotted it. Don't worry.
You're going to send that to me shortly.
Of course I will. Of course I will. But at the same time, it really did highlight that Instagram is definitely anti-women compared to men. Whereas, you know, I've got friends that have had breastfeeding photos removed. And then you've got Tommy, who apparently took it down himself. It didn't even get taken down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's a bit crap, bit patriarchal, the algorithms, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yes. But I do think he's just... Sorry, that was my dog grumbling. I do think his drumming... I think it's such a shame that he's known for his Willie. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't mind, in all honesty. I'm sure if I said to Jack, my cousin, you know, some people say you're known by your Willie, he'd love it. That would make his day, he'd retire. But with Tommy, he is a really good drummer, like just the most unbelievable drummer. And oh, how fun! Who are your? Have you got a favourite band?
Wow, I find these like...
Sorry, it's like asking Sophie's Choice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit. Well, it just depends what mood you're in, doesn't it? And
I've always got time for Beasties.
yeah, I mean, I think right now, and I do bang on about it a fair bit, but if I want to just feel happy and chilled, I put on Tame Impala.
Oh, nice.
And they really they've been sort of up there for quite a while for me. I've never met them. I have seen them live 3 times, maybe. Yeah. And I really like them.
So you're a proper gig goer as well, not just you love gigging.
Not massively, but with them, I was definitely keen on. Also really like Courtney. So gigs that I genuinely wanted to go to that I wasn't working out. Yes, Tame Impala. Courtney Barnett I saw in a really small venue in Oxford. That was amazing. But you know, sometimes there's gigs I want to see, but I also just want to be shooting them. But it's a very different way of seeing a gig. Because you are. Yeah,
I was going to. It's completely different for you to be just enjoying the music. Busman's Holiday.
Placebo was supporting My Chemical Romance not long ago in Milton Keynes, and that was just brilliant. To see them. I hadn't actually shot them live for quite a while, and that was great. And then My Chemical Romance I've shot before as well, and that they were insane. And it was that's you know, it's great to be in the pit. You get a really good view.
Are you Placebo's sort of most prolific photographer, I would say? Because every photo I see of Placebo is one of yours. I just always see your photos. I just always think of you when I see Placebo now.
Well, particularly from that time, you know, in the in the 90s, early 2000s, particularly, there are, you know, if you love Placebo,
I did.
You definitely know. I met someone recently who was going to see Placebo, and I said, well, you know that picture of Brian with the angel wings? And I was like, that's
what I mean. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, so they are, you know, that's a real reference point for them. Yeah.
But the Foo Fighters in the hot tub, that's iconic.
Well, I've always really loved it. You know, I suppose as time goes on, there's more and more and more images of them. But yeah, I've always had a real soft spot for that one. Just because it was funny how it all came about, and it was just genuinely very organic. Like, they didn't know that that's what the magazine wanted them to do. And it was just a 1-man, maybe 2-man hot tub. Well, when I say man, you know, a person. But yeah, so if, you know, they weren't prepared, they didn't have their swimmers, and it was just
great.
Can they really want this? Yeah, Q Magazine want you to do this, and they just went, yeah, sure.
I love that.
Clothes.
But they seem like a really lovely band. Like they seem like they have fun. all the time.
Definitely. Yeah. And my heart was really broken for them all. And
what do you think they'll do?
Yeah. And their manager, John Silver, who I've known from the Beastie Boy days. I mean, he has managed just so many incredible bands, and I'd just spoken to him not long before it all happened. And I was just like, oh, man, I hadn't spoken to him for ages before that. And then I was like, this is just so awful, this incredible, after everything, like, lockdown and everything, and then just everyone's back up and running. And it's just like, wow. Yeah.
Oh, it still shocks me, actually, and I still sort of almost forget it, and then I'm like, oh God, no, that did happen. That's so sad. It's just
really sad.
Yeah. Every photo that every shoot you do, you must have a really fond memory of. So I probably should have asked, not your favourite band, but do you have any? If you had had to give a speech and give one story from a shoot. This is really mean to do this to you, by the way, because I know there will be loads, obviously, the world of rock and roll. But actually, to be fair, the Foo Fighters story is pretty brilliant, because you could tell that was organic, the way he picks up a periscope. Are there any good anecdotes from? I know I have to be quite careful because it was the 90s and anything went, but you must have.
Well, that's another thing. In lockdown, that was another thing. I got very sort of, I'm definitely not OCD or anything like that, but the fact that I had to manage 2 children at home and everyone's mental health, just keeping everyone, I sort of decided to have quite a strict routine in terms of what we were all doing in the day, but also what I was showing up to do, to just sort of keep my head in the right place. So I started a project at the same time as well, doing kids with their comfort toys, which was a brilliant project called Buddy. That's but at the same time, so I was doing that in my spare time, but also recording once a week. So once a week I would put my makeup on and try and feel and look presentable, and it would take ages to do these recordings, but record myself talking about one image and talking about the words behind that picture and what happened. And that was just incredible, actually. I got so many people talk about it still.
You did reels or videos. They were brilliant. Absolutely, absolutely brilliant. I love them. They were so engaging.
And so there is always something there's always something you can vaguely remember about the shoot, but there are some that were, more interesting than others, I suppose. And if you're particularly interested in that band, then it's kind of, even more interesting. But I suppose, I'm just trying to think, like the Paul McCartney shot that I did was
just casually dropped in there.
Paul
McCartney.
Flexing, as the kids say.
I love it. Name drop away. I love it.
So I was doing a personal project called Resonators, where I was photographing as many of the most incredible guitarists as I could. Ultimately, it was my own project, so not everyone was available. But anyway, I based a whole week in America around the vague possibility that I was going to be able to shoot Paul McCartney. And I got a phone call at the 11th hour saying, all right, you can come down to the Jimmy Kimmel and get your snap.
Oh my God, Jimmy Kimmel as well.
Yeah. And then I had only just arrived, literally not 24 hours in LA, pretty jet lagged, coming to like 4:00 in the afternoon of that first day. And it was like, oh my God, like I'm so not ready. But had to, get to the Jimmy Kimmel park.
Yeah.
I had my just one light, but set up ready to go. And I thought, well, this snap thing, it's not going to be a snap. I want to get a portrait. This is quite important. But he came out and he was amazing. And I only took about 9 frames. And I was quite nervous as well, because it's like, I'm always very aware that they're giving me their time.
You're so humble, though. You're so brilliant. And you photographed unbelievable people, and you're still so humble. It's so I think it's adorable, but you have no need to be.
Well, you just don't want to take the piss, I guess.
Yeah,
and it's
I know.
like, and then you just hope, like, fingers crossed, did I get a shot? And yes, I'm not one of those photographers that goes, yes, I've nailed it. I'm always like, I think I've got something there. And, but yeah, it was a case of like pulling a curtain in the green room across and setting up my one light, very basic situation, and just hoping that something comes out of it. But that was a miracle.
He was phenomenal at Glastonbury as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, where do you, I mean, yeah, obviously.
Have you seen Get Back?
Yeah, obviously have watched that. And it's just, yeah.
He really had to rein them all in, honestly. I mean, you can, John Lennon was just so naughty all the time.
What an amazing film, though. Really.
Wow.
For everybody.
I wanted to get Jeremy for his birthday a photo of the Roof Sessions, but the photos I kept coming across either had no George Harrison in or Billy Preston, and I really wanted Billy Preston in because he was pivotal in that recording. And I finally on eBay found someone selling, it was literally a tear out of a magazine, a photo, but you can see all of them, the Beatles and Billy Preston, and I framed, and it's just so beautiful. But it's the Roof Sessions with, the health and safety now when you think about what you have to probably go through.
Absolutely, I know.
How did they not fall off?
Yeah. Or some of the people watching. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Just sort of, yeah, I know.
Oh, but but yeah, Paul McCartney, Sir Paul, I should say.
I know.
But you've also, have you shot, I know you've shot, and I have to mention your dad. You've got the most beautiful portrait of you and your dad, which I just love, and you're the image of him. Have you shot the band?
So with Led Zeppelin?
Yes.
Well,
just that little band, have you heard of them, Led Zeppelin?
it's funny because people do say, have you shot Jimi Hendrix? And I go, well, no, because I was born in 1971.
Yeah,
so
I know.
It's a lot of Led Zeppelin was.
I don't mean live.
No, I did shoot their concert in 2008 where they played at the O2, and it was with Jason Bonham. But
wow.
I had literally just had my daughter, my first kid, and I was definitely there in body, but I was a bit, it was such a mega night, but also I was a little bit in a different zone, but it was just, it was unbelievable, but it just almost
you
feels
must be
like
so
dream.
Proud though. Must be incredible. Are you musical?
Any
of it rubbed off? You're very creative. Clearly, that's that's.
I played piano, but
coursing through your veins.
I got it just became a chore, and I didn't love that, so just preferred the sort of art, and drawing and painting was very sort of controlled, almost photographic like actually, and then taking pictures was like, aha, this is what I like doing. I still really love it, and just photographing people. That's it, whoever they are.
I'm so desperate for you to do a book. I really am. I really am. It will be so important for my generation, our generation.
Yeah, I will do it. It's so much work. I mean, there are a few other possible books that might be in the making as well of some bands, but not yet official.
Yeah,
so
you'd have to kill me if you told me, obviously.
Well, probably not, but so no, definitely it's on my wish list of things that I want to do.
I'm going to nag at you about it. I literally can see a big, for some reason in my head it's yellow. I've got this, I'm manifesting a yellow book. Yeah, I don't know why.
Resonator's book had a fair bit of yellow.
I see yellow. I'm manifesting it for you. And really big, like a square, one of those real heavy that could kill someone,
Yeah.
you get that really a doorstop styly. Just, it would just be the 90s in immortalised, and it would just be so wonderful to show the kids.
The problem with me is that I find it so hard to narrow down and edit. And so, like you're finding with some questions where I'm like, oh, so I will go.
I am firing them at you as well, like a machine gun, without any sort of control.
But it's just like, if I have to choose, 2 images of Placebo and 2 images of Stereophonics, it's like, how do I choose? Just
put 3 in then. We won't mind. It'd be beautiful. You could have a chapter on each of them.
Yeah.
I'm talking a big book here.
Yeah, okay.
You've got a lot of bands to get through. Do not compromise any of them, because they're all so beautiful, and I love the more candid ones and the ones that probably wouldn't have made the magazines, or I think.
Well, this is the thing when
bring
you start
out that in them.
We just, when we were organising the other day and pulling out the bands that time forgot. Yeah, there was like this session I did of Cillian Murphy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and he's so young. It's like very early days, and he's gorgeous and very boyish. And there are some images that I printed at the time, but then there's some that I've never printed. I was like, these are amazing.
Yeah,
these ones.
Don't tempt. Yeah. You're now literally taunting us.
Yes. So no, it will be a really fun project to do. I will do it.
Oh, please do. And when we've all got, dementia and Alzheimer's, and we can look through it and go, see, that's what we all did, and it was brilliant, and that's our legacy. We didn't have phones, but Scarlet took photos for us, so that's fine.
Yeah. We just looked at pictures.
I think your photography is, it sounds so dramatic, but it really does kind of reach into your soul, and it evokes, I see is that they clearly loved you taking their photos. That's what I see. Yeah. I see that they are so at ease and comfortable in being themselves, and that's the art of a good photographer.
Well, that's a lovely thing to hear, and I think, as time has gone on, I can see a bit of a thread through my work. It's obviously something that is important to me, to try and get behind that sort of outer mask, and to really sort of go a bit deeper and not just get a picture, but get something that feels quite real. And so that's amazing.
Oh, they are. That's what I mean. They are. You just get immersed, and I can go down a rabbit hole and on your with all your photos, but you just get lost. You don't need words. You don't need anything. It's just these photos tell such a story, and I think you're amazing. I think you are just one of the greatest music photographers. I really do. I just think you're just brilliant. I don't know if it's because you're brilliant, but it's because we're very similar age, and I feel like the bands that you covered are just it's all the bands that I loved and listened to, and it's so magical to think that the photos I saw in the magazines that I probably stuck on the back of my ring binder at college, and doing all work, all trying to my phone book in my house that had pictures of people on. You took. Do you remember Sky magazine?
Yeah. My friend used to work for Sky. My best mate.
I was obsessed with it.
Yeah, Sky was great. Really good.
Why did that go?
Oh, who knows?
It just disappeared one day. I don't even remember it leaving.
It was brilliant. It really was. Yeah, and so many I remember having to do a shoot. It's funny, we were, again, another one that came up, this band called Live. Not a great name for a band, actually, when you Google search.
Live. Yeah.
But I think there was a shoot for Sky of Kylie Minogue on the cover, wearing no clothes and cross-legged, or sort of.
I think I remember Kylie on the cover.
Really, so many people have done it since that sort of setup of basically of not wearing anything, but you sort of crossed so that everything is covered up and everything. But I had to do a shoot with the singer of Live in the same kind of, it just didn't really work in the same way as
all tucked in.
He was wearing a cowboy hat and he was quite hairy, and it's no Kylie Minogue. And I have to, if I'm picking one of those out,
was it more John Jeremy?
Yeah, towards that vibe. But yeah, it's
Oh god! But you can't. I mean, that's the thing. It's like there's boundaries, but at the same time, you can't be a prude if you're a photographer because you see everything, don't you? I mean,
yeah, no, I'm quite easygoing with all of that. Nothing really. I'm not too shockable.
No.
So,
We've probably seen it all. So what are you doing now? What's up next? Because you're so busy and you've just moved studios. You're obviously going to be getting this book sorted now.
Yeah, I am now. I'm
straight down there.
I actually, September, October is looking really busy. I always do the Henley Literary Festival, which is a brilliant thing that I've been doing for years now, and it's really full on. It's like 12-hour shoot days, but you meet the most incredible people and hear the most incredible people that I not always on my radar. So I take portraits of most of the authors, and I mean, last year I got a shot of Sarah Ferguson with Little Stephen from the E Street Band. It was just random.
I saw Little Stephen as well. I saw. Just brilliant.
There's some odd, but exciting moments there.
Like the weirdest people to get stuck in a lift with.
Yeah, but really, it's brilliant. So that's sort of the end of September, and just.
I might pop along to that. That sounds really fun. I do. Oh yeah, I've really got in love with reading again.
It's just sometimes I'll listen to someone speaking and it just, again, really inspires me. And that's the great takeaway from what I do. Like I said earlier, it's just, it's sort of, not only do I love doing what I do, but it sort of enriches me because I learn and meet. And, that's really inspiring and keeps me caring as well about what I do. And, yeah.
So we've been chatting for an hour and it's been brilliant. It's flown by, and I could corner you and never let you go and just fire questions at you, but I won't do that. Who would you like to shoot that you've yet to?
Well, I'd love to shoot. For a while, I was thinking, who would be great, and I did really want to shoot Prince, and I almost got to shoot. I got a phone call from. He was being represented by Purple PR, which was just a great coincidence because that was actually their name. But that didn't, he was doing these sort of like, guerrilla gigs where he just wouldn't announce it to the last minute and suddenly be there. And brilliant. I was on hold, but then it just didn't come about. And I was like, that would have been just mega. But
that was the biggest shock to me, Prince.
Me. I was really devastated with that one. But like someone like Madonna, Lady Gaga-esque in that sort of, obviously, someone like that who would terrify me on some levels, but would just be incredible. That would be. I'd love to shoot Tame Impala because I love them.
Yes.
And I quite often say that. But no, I just love, I don't need to shoot everyone that I enjoy musically, but that's always fun when that happens. And I don't know.
Do you know who I think's really beautiful that would just be incredible to shoot, and she's so cool? Georgia Smith. She her following is just insane. I used to do a little jazz show on local radio, and I used to have Georgia Smith as my sound bed, and she's just so beautiful, but urban as well, like she just doesn't care about makeup and she doesn't care about looking amazing. She just posts photos of her looking tired, and she's just gorgeous. I think you and her together would be a dream. I just would love to see you shoot Georgia Smith because she's just
another. As time has evolved, like earlier on in my career, I was it was so male saturated.
Yeah, I was going to say that, actually, looking back.
Yeah, it really was. And I tended to make boys look pretty, like Brian Molko, and that was quite fun to do. He was pretty. He is pretty. Yeah, he is. And so I think for a little while I did shoot the odd girl band, but there weren't that many that were sort of I was commissioned to do. And even when I was shooting my Resonators project, it was quite hard. I was struggling, and so the women that I was approaching, a lot of them couldn't do it. People like Viv Albertine, and I did manage to shoot Chrissy Hine, which was amazing. Yeah, she's.
Have you seen Pistols?
Yeah, I loved it.
Did you love it?
I didn't realise I like quite how the Steve Jones Chrissy thing.
I didn't.
I shot both of them for Resonators as well. So yeah, that was great. But so I think for a while I lost my bottle in terms of. I didn't feel confident in shooting women. I was so used to shooting boys and men that I felt a bit out of practice, like, I don't know if I can do it. But actually, I shoot so many women now, and I totally have the knack. And
Festival of the Girl, for example, was just amazing. The shoot for that, loved it.
Yeah, and I love shooting women. I love shooting, not just musicians, but entrepreneurs, and just... it's such a pleasure, and shooting women who are my age, and it's brilliant. And recently I shot a girl similar to Georgia, who's a new artist, so really quite young, but a similar kind of vibe. And it's quite fun because it was literally her first shoot, and she's like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Lucky thing to have a. She's peaked too soon though. After being shot by you, she'll be very disappointed with everyone else. Your first shoot, blimey!
Yeah. Well, that's really. I love doing that kind of thing as well.
It's fantastic.
It's fun. It's really great. Yeah, I love it. It's almost like phototherapy. You take someone and make them feel, more confident. By the time they leave you, they're like, oh, hello, doggy.
Yeah, sorry about that, Max. He obviously wants his photo taken, and he is the vainest dog on the planet. I would love to one day have photos done by. I mean, we could do a shoot with all the dogs, and it'd be mad, and it'd be brilliant, and all the kids. It'd be so fun.
Well, keep me
lucky
posted.
you.
I'm doing nothing. Like I say, I've done most sort of things that they say you shouldn't do in terms of don't work with animals, children, all that, rock stars. And so, all of them all together would be a brilliant mix.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. And you could prove them wrong. Just no willies.
No willies,
no
please.
Willies. No willies.
No.
Thank you so much, Scarlet. And thank you to you, the listeners, for listening and keeping me on the air. You know what to do. Tell your friends, share, like, subscribe, and just keep spreading the love. We will be back next time with an amazing guest, as per usual. Keep listening. Goodbye.